Hey, this is Pastor L, aka the Autism Pastor, here with a 2-minute chapter chat from my forthcoming book, How Ableism Fuels Racism, Dismantling the Hierarchy of Bodies in the Church. Chapter 1, Disability, Blackness, and Early American Christianity. Rhetoric born out of the early Puritan theology served as a foundation for the creation of racial slavery. In 1619, when some of the first Africans arrived on the shores of the North, and by the mid-1600s, racial slavery was embedded in the colonial social, economic, and legal framework. As early as 1640, disability weaved its way into the narrative of the newly forming nation. Racial slavery in the West began by using disability to make chattel slavery a matter of charity rather than a matter of equality. Defining Africans as mentally inferior and effectively disabled allowed for pro-slavery advocates to appeal to the Christian ethos of benevolence. One example of how religious language was used to shape ideas about disability is the release of George Fitzhugh's now infamous defense of slavery, Cannibals All, or Slaves Without Masters. In it, Fitzhugh argues that slavery is in fact humane when considered against the free labor system of the North. You see, Fitzhugh paved the way for developing the use of disability to define Blackness and to further raise political and social support for racial slavery. Now, Fitzhugh's work helped popularize the positive good argument. Pro-slavery thought has a long and complicated trajectory in the United States, and we can see this in its attempts throughout history to use religious rhetoric and economic and political arguments for the necessity of slavery. In the decade prior to the Civil War, national pro-slavery arguments absorbed the ideology of the pro-slavery arguments emerging from the South. As the 1830s ended, the positive good thesis grew in popularity thanks to Senator John C. Calhoun, who preached the message that racial slavery was an act of benevolence. His arguments drew on existing religious, economic, and political arguments, and he expanded them to create a view of racial slavery that centered his practice on the kindness and charity of the slaveholder. You see, Calhoun's argument marked the beginning stage of using disability imagery to associate the slaveholder with a duty to exercise authority over enslaved Africans who ostensibly couldn't care for themselves because of their disability. This has been Pastor L, aka Autism Pastor, with a 2-minute chapter chat on my forthcoming book, How Ableism Fuels Racism, Dismantling the Hierarchy of Bodies in the Church, releasing on February 20th, 2024. Go to your favorite bookstore or book outlet and pre-order your copy today.